Hello, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for watching. Today's video is going to be a little different than a typical brooder conversion. This is more of a build video I've been doing of a custom truck I'm making. I posted some pictures on Facebook a couple times of the cab. I'm trying to duplicate the Rolloff truck that I use in our, I'm going to say, our side hustle. My brother and I actually move railroad cars. I don't know if you saw my YouTube header page is one of my Tamiya trucks with pulling a caboose. My brother and I move cabooses, passenger cars, box cars, basically any type of railroad equipment, typically for private railroad museums. Like a railroad might have a piece of equipment that's out of service or more historic and someone saved it, and it's no longer able to go down the railroad tracks because of its being out of service. You know, friction bearings, the brakes aren't inspected or not or whatever. And so we're hired to move it down the highway. We've actually moved a locomotive, and we're looking at moving another locomotive. And so I'll have a video later on about my train. So I've made a 1/14 scale train. Started out making a caboose to haul, and then, well, you got a caboose, then you got to have a locomotive, then you got a locomotive, you got to have this and that. So it's just a snowball effect of everything that's being built. But my personal truck I use is a 1986 International S2500 Rolloff. This is a truck a buddy of ours had in the back of a woods, and so my brother and I went out one day and cut down the tree that was growing in between the frame, threw some batteries in it, threw a starter in it, got it running. It's got a big cam Cummins in it, and he parked it because one of the differentials was bad. Well, luckily it was about 4 miles from our shop, so the differential held up enough to get it to our shop. And so the engine and transmission was all pretty good. The cab was just rotted out. So we did a cab swap. We had another customer who had one of these cabs sitting in another woods. But we put this Rolloff together. And so now I'm trying to build one out of RC. So I've got a Grand Hauler basically frame, motor, that's all pretty standard. Because I didn't custom 3D print, a buddy I met on a Facebook forum, I'll shout out to Ralph, printed a International cab for me. So we found a 3D model of it. I had found a 3D model of it, but I like 3D printing, I like designing, but real intricate shapes and bodies are not my forte when it comes to designing. And so I put a post out saying, hey, who can help me get this file ready to make it 3D printed? And so Ralph helped me out, and ultimately I tried printing it myself, and my printer kept crashing, so he printed it for me. Did the body work, did the paint work on it, and now I have a cab that looks just darn near identical to mine. So insert picture here. And now you can see the truck that I drive. So, like I said, started with the Grand Hauler, but this is an older truck. And so I went out and found a bunch of King Hauler accessories. So like the tank with the steps on it, that's exactly how my truck is. I got a tank with the steps like this. I got a single stack on the right-hand side. And on the right-hand side, I've got my battery box and air tanks on the right-hand side. So using some King Hauler parts, using some Grand Hauler parts, got this all pretty well where it needs to be. Obviously, I've got a lot of details to finish up. I still have to 3D print headlights, and then I need to find some lenses for up here, and I also need to make windshield and stuff like that. Now you might notice I've got like a high rail set up on here, so this could run actually on railroad tracks. My Rolloff doesn't have that. I'm actually just doing this for another buddy of mine who actually runs a high rail truck, and he would like to see that on his. So that's a video another day, or a project for another video another day. The thing we'll be looking at today is actually the Rolloff bed. The Rolloff bed we basically made ourselves. And so, because we haul railroad equipment on it, we found an old bed and cut it out and put channels in the bed so that we could basically bring railroad trucks right up on there. So I 3D printed this, designed designed all the parts, and printed it out to be a direct replica scale-wise of my truck. So we also had to make a frame. So I made this frame a while back, but today or the last couple days, I've been working on the bed slide. So I want, this is not only just a roll-off truck, it's a roll back, so it rolls back and forth and up and down. So I've got the bed slide pretty well taken care of, and so I want to kind of go over that. And then the next step after the bed slide's all done will be the lift, whether I use a mechanism like the Tamiya tipper mechanisms, or maybe I use like that video of the electric actuators. Maybe we use electric actuator for that. But I want to show the mechanism I made for the bed slide. It's not glued in there yet because I'm actually printing some new frame rails to get more travel out of this. I used another one of those T5 lead screws that you could see in the DIY linear actuator video. If you've not seen the video for making your own linear actuators, click right up here and I'll leave a link for that. So this is a 100mm long T5 lead screw. I actually got some 150 linked lead screws coming so that I can run this lead screw from this motor back here all the way up past this cross member, and it'll give me about 6 inches of travel. 150mm is right about 6 inches, and so I'm actually printing new ones of these. But I also use little bearings to get the rollers in there, so the bed slide can slide right on those rollers, just like it would be on a regular truck. Let me get this lined up there, so this can roll back and forth really nice. So let me put this on here. I guess to kind of show you what I did, I took one of these MG90S servos. I've used these little servos in a bunch of projects. I buy them on Amazon in an 8-pack, so you end up giving just a couple bucks a piece for them. So by the time you buy, say, one of these geared motors with the reduction, and you buy an ESC, the servo is a little bit less expensive, and it's a nice package, easy to mount, easy to plug in. But I do want to show you how we go through and basically make this continuous rotation, because right now it has a potentiometer in it limiting its range. And so yes, I know you're going to put in the comments, you can buy continuous rotation servos. Yeah, but I got these on my shelf and it takes about 5 minutes to convert it to a continuous rotation. Alright, so looking at how we're going to do the bed slide, like I said, got the continuous rotation servo, and I 3D printed a small little adapter that will, here, let me turn this just a little bit. I 3D printed a small little adapter that screwed onto a servo horn. So the adapter screwed onto the servo horn, then I can unscrew the servo horn and the adapter onto the servo, and then the lead screw threaded in there, and actually made this kind of like a split coupler. So this is just one 3D printed part, and then put a screw on it to keep some tension on this lead screw. Like I mentioned, I do have a longer lead screw coming that's just going to bring me out to here, and we're going to move this brace right here back 1.5 inches to get 6 inches of travel in here. But you'll notice as I run this left to right, this is a little adapter which consists of the original T5 lead screw nut, as well as a 3D printed adapter that's screwed together on. And as I run this back and forth, it can run out, it can run in. The servo isn't currently mounted, so that will get mounted once I get this new frame done with this cross member farther back. But the idea here is, as this bed comes on here, this little adapter is just going to sit in one of these channels to move it back and forth. So as I put that lined up, so now that that's in there, basically there's a little bit of play in it, but as I run this back and forth, kind of echoes in there, but it will run that back, and we can run it forward, and we're going to have 6 inches of travel with this. And so that gives us the ability to slide this bed back, slide it forward, and let me go grab one of the wheel sets so you can kind of see what that looks like on here. So these are what are called railroad trucks. Obviously there's a 3D printed exactly at a 1/14 scale, which puts us at a 4-inch gauge. So like when you think of a G scale, if you're into model trains, a G scale is like what, 2.5 inches, somewhere right around there. Someone will put that in the comments. I'm not a G scale guy. I actually have a HO layout right over there. I might do something on the layout one of these days. But like when we're moving railroad cars, we use hydraulic jacks to lift the railroad car up. We slide the tracks out underneath, and we actually just use a roll-off just like this that has a winch to winch these up on here. So the first step of this bed, obviously we've got the frame and the bed built. We're going to get this slide so we can slide these forward and backwards. The next step, I'm going to work on the lifting mechanism to dump this bed so this can come up. It's going to slide down, and then I'm going to install a winch underneath there to basically pull these trucks up and down. So this is kind of the first part of this build. I've got many things to do on it yet. Sadly, I didn't start making videos till after the cab was already done, and this, like, I already had this built up to this point before I started making YouTube content. So hopefully you find this interesting. I will post all the STL files for this bed and this assembly. If you want to, you know, make one of your own, obviously you might not want to make it just like this, but if you have a custom roll-off that you want to build, I'm going to provide the STL files for what I've done here so far. Modify it, change it, do what you want to it. Yeah, so hope you find this interesting on the roll-off build, and I will come out with another video once I get the lifting mechanism done. Hopefully I'll get the lifting. I was going to make like an electric actuator to run the winch, but I think it's going to be easiest just to buy an off-the-shelf winch and put it under here. Who knows, we'll see. I might get an idea of how I can efficiently do a winch with a continuous rotation servo. So you guys know how I like those. So hope you find this interesting, and if you want to see more of my railroad stuff, comment below. You know, comment that you want to see the railroad stuff. If there's some interest in that, I'll make some videos on what I have for a 14th scale railroad. I think that I got the only 14th scale railroad equipment out there. So hope you find this interesting, and you guys have a good day.